Welcome back to 744 Ostrom. I'm here with my fellow basketball beat writer, Tony Olivero, and just here to break down Syracuse's win over West Virginia. Breaks them out of a two-game losing streak, three-game losing streak here at home. So Tony, to get right into it, Brandon Trish really played well in this game. He was a big part of SU getting the transition game going and feeding off of the defensive effort that they had. Talk a little bit about Brandon and what he was able to do tonight.
He was able to do basically whatever he wanted. I mean, he's become the main scorer for this team, as Rick Jackson's in somewhat of a funk. Chris Joseph hasn't become the 23 points scorer per game that people anticipated, and it's come along slowly for Brandon Trish. But here he is again, right after the Louisville game, putting up points for this team. Right from the get-go, it was like I think it was 20 seconds into the game. SU had the ball for I think 3 seconds after Miss Kevin Jones shot, and Brandon Trish is right there, almost looking for a spot on the floor to take a jump shot. It was obviously that first three. It went in. I think he shot 50% overall in the game, or a little over 50% overall in the game. And bottom line is, if Brandon Trish stays back kind of in the woodworks for this SU team as a whole, they keep creeping back, and they might be a bubble team at this point, with maybe not a 2-game losing streak here and a 4-game losing streak there, but, something that Jim Boeheim hasn't seen in his time here. So Brandon Trish is vital to this team, and I think the role that he has will only be amplified moving forward. Chris Joseph touched on that after the game. And, right now he's the best player SU has in these past few games, but, that's just one person's take. Andrew, what's your take?
Obviously Syracuse has 4 guys, but that they really rely heavily on the 4 veteran guys, and it's really a luxury for them to have 4 guys that they can rely on, and any one of those 4 guys could really come up and have a big game at any point in time. We've seen Scoop Jardine and Chris Joseph have played well at times this year, but they've also not played well at times, and Rick Jackson up until recently was just kind of the anchor that this team had, was so consistent. And it's not so much that he's been playing poorly, it's that teams are really focusing on him and taking him out of the game, which is forcing these other guys to step up. So when they can get a big 20-point effort from Brandon Trish tonight, it's really going to go a long way. And they're going to need, as you said, to have him continually playing well, and even Chris Joseph and Scoop Jardine. One thing that Jim Boeheim said tonight was that he still anticipates Chris Joseph will play better, and I think a lot of people had high expectations for him, but just hasn't quite got there. Maybe the expectations were a little too high, but I think if they can get one or two of these guys playing really well consistently as teams focus on Jackson, then they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Bottom line is Syracuse realizes Rick Jackson's going to get double team, triple team from here on out. As a result, we've been to practices. Obviously, they're running constant sets for this guy, just going off screens, in the vein of a Reggie Miller or Rip Hamilton, just constantly off double screens and trying to find seams and just trying to get a shot open. And he's at the point right now where he is in the mentality where, hey, if he doesn't even need to find that seam, like that first play offensively,
right,
where he's just dribbling up the court, he's going to take the shot. And that's a big step for Brandon Trish. I don't think that can be, overstated or understated enough. And really, just major strides for him. But also tonight, I at least felt that Chris Joseph, played well, shot 50%. It was the best combined shooting percentage any of these those 2 guys, who are SU's 2 main scoring threats, have had in 11 games since the St. John's game. So they both stepped up together tonight, all around. Also defensively, Brandon Trish had 3 steals in the same exact spot in the second half. Chris Joseph, after having some trouble against Mitchell of West Virginia, kind of stepped up and did what he needed to after Jim Boeheim really got into him there. So I think that's big for SU fans that these 2 guys stepped up against a caliber opponent. West Virginia is no slouch. They've got some players out there, and they both played pretty well tonight, even though Boeheim kind of talked down Joseph a little bit. But now that we've mentioned Mitchell, something that everybody on press row was talking about, especially in that first half, was, hey, Boeheim's mentioned over and over again, teams, sometimes are going to shoot well against us, teams are sometimes going to shoot well against us. But at a certain point, it comes to a head where, hey, this is West Virginia team at shot 32% heading into this game. Why are they making 7, first half 3-pointers? Why is this guy Mitchell, I think he sank 9 overall in the game. how is that happening? And when they were down, it looked like it was just deja vu all over again. Take Andrew on that.
Yeah, it's interesting because coming into the game, West Virginia, as you said, they haven't been shooting very well from beyond the arc, and they're only making about 5.5 a game coming into the game, and then in the first half they have 7 already, and this is something that we've seen that has been a weak point for Syracuse thus far in the season. We've seen that teams can come in and really shoot well from beyond the 3-point line, and it was really interesting to me that Syracuse was really pounding the ball inside. They were winning the points in the paint battle, and they were winning the fast break battle, and they even had fewer.
They didn't just win them; they completely outright owned them.
Right, and they were controlling their turnovers, and they were winning the turnover battle, and having said all that, West Virginia was still at a 4-point advantage going into halftime simply because they were able to make the 3-pointer. This is something that I think that is really concerning. Some people may say it's not concerning, but I think if this is a team that really has aspirations of going beyond what they did last year, they really have to defend the 3-point shot a little bit better, and it's something that they haven't really done this far in the season, and we'll see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, in the post-game press conference, Jim Boeheim was vehement that even though this team had hit some funks in Big East Conference play, that you shouldn't judge this team based upon 2, 3, even 1 game or whatever it might be. But still, with that, you mentioned that the 3-point shot, I think you used the perfect word. It is concerning. Obviously in today's day and age in college basketball, most teams out there, they're using the 3-point shot as a way to completely defeat every team they play.
Right.
And every team that plays against the Syracuse team, it's nothing new, but that's exactly what they're going for. And all those stats to be in your favor. SU was an ugly first half, but still SU was the more efficient team offensively thanks to the fast break buckets and the efficiency on defense. They held the ball less, I think 1.5 minutes less in that first half, and they were winning they were slaughtering West Virginia in all those categories, and they still were down by 4 just because of Mitchell and just because of the 3-point shooting. And to me, when I see something like that, even if you do win, to me it convinces me that you're not going to go far. Because at a certain point, you just gotta, I guess, just turn it around. But
at this point in the season, you have to also wonder. You had 7 guys play for Syracuse. That bench is really tightened up for Syracuse. We were seeing 9, 10 guys come off the bench earlier in the season. What do you see going on there? Deion Waiters didn't play a whole lot tonight. Fab Melo didn't play. Yeah. Is this something that you think we can expect to see from Syracuse throughout the remainder of the season?
There's no word on Melo. He was dressed tonight. But I expect him to be back doing the same thing he's done all year. Jim Boeheim, it'll be interesting to see if he starts him, but I think he will end up starting him. He'll play his 3 minutes unless he plays really, really well. But they're going to divvy up the minutes between buying him, 17 to 27 minutes per game. Deion Waiters is going to continue to get this amount of time unless he really plays well and does what he needs to do defensively. Boeheim mentioned that. Basically it's just like anything with the Syracuse basketball program. Boeheim's going to do whatever he wants. He's pretty much earned that right after 35 years. And with regards to playing time, I even asked him a question earlier in the year about Waiters getting time over Jardine in the Villanova game, and he just downright refused to answer it and kind of called me out on it. So more of the same is what I expect, right. And the only tweak I would say is, just like we've been seeing, a lot less time for James Sutherland and C.J. Fair getting a lot more time. I think that's been kind of ironed out in these last few games.
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting is we've seen C.J. Fair has really taken over that forward spot coming off the bench, and he played a lot tonight. Played the bulk of the minutes in the front court with Rick Jackson and Chris Joseph, and so it'll be interesting to see if Boeheim continues to go with that lineup over say putting Fab Melo or Musa Keita in there. One of the things he said tonight was that neither of those guys really do anything offensively to help, so that when guys are doubling down on Rick Jackson, they really don't have anyone who they can give the ball to who can generate any offense, and I think that moving forward that'll be something to keep an eye on, especially moving into the postseason with 4 games left.
The one point I would have on that is, and you saw it in the first half tonight, you're going to continue to see it the rest of the year, it is that Syracuse, because they're giving up so many threes, and they will continue to, they have to have a certain level of offensive efficiency, and they struggled at times tonight, but when it was working, it was the only reason they were in the game. If even though they owned all these categories. And that's the reason CJ Fair is playing, because he is someone who gets in the right spots. He is someone who converts baskets, unlike Musakita and especially Fat Mello. And when you're giving up all these points, you need to score points.
Yeah.
Boeheim said it all year, our problem's not our defense, our problem is
Mhm.
scoring points. Well, if you're going to be giving up all these threes, then you need Fair in the game solely because he can be in the right spot to make a layup. And there you have 2 points, and whatever Fair is going to bring to you every night. So I think, that is a little kind of nook and cranny in this team and its development this year, just basically because of what they have to do on offense.
Well, a lot to think about. So that's it for this edition of On the Beat. Till next time, for Tony, Andrew, signing out.